So I've been tasked to do 5 points on the Mormons and their heresies. So the Book of Mormon was published, we'll say, in 1830 by Joseph Smith, and he's an American man, so a lot of this Mormonism is kind of contact with America. And he had a vision where he was contacted by the angel Moroni, and he gave him this advanced revelation that he was going to be a prophet, and he was given the location of these like golden. It was a book essentially which contains the scriptures of the Book of Mormon, and a lot of it's linked with Egypt. And again, if you read the Bible, everything with Egypt, it's generally a lot of negative connotations. So yeah, he was given these gold records. He then wrote the Book of Mormon, which again, linking with the Catholics, we're getting to this extra canonical book that has now become a level authority with the Bible. And him as a position, I think he was given the revelation that he's going to judge at the same level as the Lord as well in heaven. So he'll be judging what he calls Christians in a sense. So we've already got the first heresy there, which is an angel preaching another gospel, which is Galatians 1:8 rebukes this. And like I said, it's how convenient that the gold plates that he found were returned to the angel after he'd finished translating it, so there's no physical evidence of this anyway. So I thought that was pretty convenient. And there's some issues with the Book of Mormon. It copies the KJV notation and language and the style, so when I'll read some verses from it and you'll see, it also uses the notation like second and first. So it's quite similar in that sense. There's been over 3,000 changes to the book since it's been written as well, which again, it's already not looking good. And again, repeating the point, there's no archaeological evidence of the burial or these Mormon cities that are mentioned, which one of them is called Zarahemla, and supposedly it's near Iowa in America. So again, and then Jackson County, Missouri, in the Garden of Eden. That's some similarities there. That's where they reckon the Garden of Eden was, so that's quite cool. And then Utah seems to be the cultural center where a lot of these Mormons live. And there's over 16 million of them worldwide, supposedly. So the second heresy then is, again, similar to Catholics, salvation by grace and works. And from their Article of Faith 3, which I found on their website, which is where I'd imagine most people that are unsaved are going to start like researching. So again, from the outside perspective, if you're looking at Mormonism, this is what you're going to see straight off the bat. So they say, we believe that through the atonement of Christ, sounds all right, isn't it? But then all mankind may be saved. Again, it sounds okay. But then we've got by obedience to the laws and the ordinances of the gospel. And again, Second Nephi. So if anyone got that book in their Bible? We've not, have we? So Second Nephi 25:23 reads, for we know that it is by grace we are saved. Again, that sounds pretty good. Then we've got a comma, after all that we can do also. So again, we've got a salvation by grace and works. And this is misleading to people. And again, it's probably damning people to hell because they think how they live their life is essentially going to be their salvation. And they're using an Acts 2:38 gospel, which is involving the baptism and the faith. So again, it's not good. Where our gospel is 1 Corinthians 15:1-4, which we all know. And then the second heresy, God has flesh and bones like a man. So again, this is already, we've brought God from, outside our creation to being part of the creation now. And in the book Doctrines and Covenants, section 130, verse 22, we've got, the Father has a body of flesh and bones as tangible as a man's, the Son also, but the Holy Ghost has not a body of flesh and bones, but is a personage of spirit. Were it not so, the Holy Ghost could not dwell in us. So they've compared essentially the Father and the Son, both are the same. Because KJV says, God is a spirit, and that they that worship him must worship him in spirit and truth. So again, they've brought God to our level, so it's completely disregarded him in that sense. And again, it's misleading because people think, God the Father is a physical, like fleshly creation. The third heresy now, we've got the Tribulation and the Rapture, and again, this is a big hope for everyone because we hope that, we're going to have this salvation, that we're not going to be involved in wrath, whereas the Mormons say they are taught by their prophets to be prepared materially, physically, and spiritually for bitter tribulations to come. So again, there's not much hope in the Mormon religion because you're essentially getting told to prepare yourself to defend yourself against, this tribulation that's to come. So again, they've not got much hope. And the Book of 3 Nephi covers in type a kind of similar story of these saints that are defending themselves and essentially surviving the tribulation, which is mentioned for the Jews, and they seem to think it's a lot about them. So they've pulled themselves into that for whatever reason. And like I said, they believe in a post-tribulation rapture, which is mentioned in Doctrines and Covenants 88 and 91-98. Again, I won't turn there, but that's what they believe. So again, they've got no hope, whereas we know the King James says in 1 Thessalonians 1:10 and in 1 Thessalonians 4:14-18 that we have hope that we're going to be taken out of the wrath. And then the fourth heresy I've got is a second chance after death. So again, this is given like an alibi to sin, and you've not got that imminence that you need to live a good life because you could have a second chance after you're dead. So they say the unsaved would be resurrected to accept the gospel and be given a second chance to confess the Lord. Whereas we know that in the King James Bible, it says in Hebrews 9:27, it is appointed unto men once to die, but after this the judgment. So this is your chance. Make the most of it. Again, Mormons they don't really have that inherent fear of hell and they don't have that seriousness of salvation, and it gives the Mormons room for sin. And then I've got my fifth heresy. Is the main thing. Mormonism is a private interpretation. You've got a man who is essentially, he could be probably smoking something crazy, and he's met this angel, and I thought when I read it, I literally thought he's probably got a Bible in front of him. He's done something stupid, and he thought, you know what, I'm going to write my own version of it. That was when I read it. That's literally what I thought. So Joseph Smith's clearly trying to put himself similar to the Catholics. He's putting that kind of priest class of person who's kind of like in charge of people and they've got their own little thing and they go. And again, it pulls into what Matt's saying. It's just pulling everyone away from the truth. And that was all. Thank you. Cheers.